joined today by 2015 U.S. National Pairs champions and the top-ranked U.S. Pairs team, Alexa and Chris.
Hi.
Thanks so much for chatting with us here in Colorado Springs in your training site.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure. So, coming off a great couple of seasons, frankly, since the Olympic Games and heading now into this Olympic season, we'd love to get a sense of how things are going, how training's going, and what your hopes are now going into the season. Alexa, you had obviously big challenges last year. Can you talk to us about how the illness and your recovery from it helps to inform and sort of change your partnership and strengthen it going forward?
That's definitely strengthened it moving forward because you have to rely on each other because this is your career, and then for us it's our livelihood because we're married. So we had to figure out how to get through each day together. So in one sense it makes the everyday training now that we're healthy a lot easier because it seems more of like a privilege and a gift to go out there and train every day. So in that aspect it's a good thing that we went through it because it makes this year going into the Olympics a little bit less stressful because we're actually really grateful that we have a full season to actually prepare instead of scrambling and trying to make it happen.
At what point during the season last season in training, did you realize that something was wrong and this wasn't just something you could quickly shake?
It started right from our last competition, the team event that we did, and it was, it didn't seem so serious at the time, but then as it kept going and we kept seeing different doctors, we kind of realized how serious it was. And then there was a long period where we didn't even know what it was because no one could tell us. So we went for a few months not even knowing what was going on, but she was having different episodes and struggling a lot. And so we'd skate for, 2 days and then she'd feel sick and we'd get off for 3 days and then go back on. So we were like on and off and on and off. And we were trying to make our schedule through the season as late as we could. So we were picking later senior Bs, later Grand Prix. But then as we got closer, we'd have to cut one and then we'd have to withdraw from another one. So it was tough, but...
Yeah, we knew it was detrimental to our training because in the summer, starting in May, when I was trying to get on the ice, 3 days max was as much skating we could get done in a row. And on those 3 days, we'd spend one day just getting my feet under me, just making sure I felt strong enough to skate. And then the second day, we do some doubles. And the third day, do doubles and choreography. And then I would get sick and then we'd be off again. And then you'd start all over. The next time you get on the ice, it's like, okay, let's spend the first day getting your feet under you.
Right.
And I think, for about 4 months of the actual skating in the summer, I wasn't cleared to do anything other than doubles. So I wasn't allowed to do triple jumps or triple throws or triple twist until I was strong enough, because as I was sick, I was losing a lot of weight and muscle. So the summer was quite a setback. And then when we realized what the diagnosis was, and then being off the ice for a while, it kind of made us look at, we lost not just 4 months of training when I had surgery, but really the whole summer, because I just kept getting pushed back. So that was difficult, but I think that's when we realized that this was going to be more than your average setback.
Sure. And you made the choice not to specifically disclose what exactly the diagnosis is. Is that harder to do now in this day and age of the rise of social media and the public has such access into the personal lives of athletes and so forth?
It's definitely harder to do now because, we use social media a lot. We share pictures of things we're doing or events we're going to or, this and that of our lives. So we kind of open up our lives a lot more than we used to. So it was difficult, but we, decided that it was in our best interest to kind of stay low-key about it so that we could focus on finding the problem and dealing with the problem and not have to worry about any outside voices coming in. And, it worked out for us.
Yeah. And it is difficult for me because I'd always want to help others. And I've had plenty of people reach out to me with their own issues that they are GI issues that they are wondering if they're the same as mine and want me to tell them everything that happened to me and what my symptoms were so they can figure out if they have the same issue. But my situation was so completely rare that I'm pretty certain for the most part that it's not the same, especially after hearing their symptoms and their story. So I'm not I feel bad because I'm not able to help them.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's sad because I hear people who write to me and tell me, I've been sick for this many months with these issues, and I can relate to them, and I feel terrible because it took so long to get me diagnosed. And I just, I feel for the people out there who are still searching for their answers and their own struggles for whatever they're dealing with.
Sure. So now, you were named still to the Four Continents in the World's team at the back end of the U.S. National Championships, which unfortunately you weren't able to compete at. Were you 100% and sort of ready to go? There were some reports that, for example, you weren't on all the practice sessions in Helsinki, and there was rumors and concerns. Is she preserving her energy? Is she not up to this? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, every athlete knows that when they go into a competition, it's completely draining and it's stressful, and you have to be 100%, rested and energized and mentally prepared to take on that week of competition. I understand we only compete 2 times, but you have those practices before that all the judges attend to, and there's a lot of people in the stands recording and everything like that. So when we made it to Helsinki, it was a long travel for us, and I was feeling like that first day of practice, I would have benefited later in the week had I stayed in and kind of rested. Looking back, it was a really smart decision because I was ready to go on both of our competition days. And, there is no rule that you have to show up for your practices.
True.
So
not a rule breaker.
No. You don't even have to practice if you don't want to. And, it's also not the responsibility of the skater to put out a post like, I'm not at practice today because of X, Y, and Z. Yep. It's totally up to you, and we felt as a team that was best, and Chris still wanted to get his feet under him because he knew what's best for him. And,
and I went to the practices, and I know that got a lot of people talking and freaking out maybe, but...
Probably less people would have reacted if neither one of us showed up.
Yeah, right.
But because Chris was alone and I had this whole series of illnesses prior, a lot of people are skeptical and worrying, which is really nice. But in that moment for that week, it was the best choice for me.
Okay. When we did see your programs that were choreographed, there was quite a departure from the season prior. Much softer, more romantic, gentler feel to the intensity of the programs in 2015, 2016. Was that deliberate? Are you guys just becoming more in love, and this is now the new normal?
Yeah, right after Worlds the year before, we got the programs choreographed, and we wanted to go for more of a love type feeling for both the programs. And then after everything that happened, it really worked out for us because we could kind of go through the programs with ease at Four Continents and Worlds, and not have to worry so much about being super strong or having a lot of difficult movements, because our programs were pretty simple. But I think that was the best thing for us to have competed the way that we did with the short amount of time of training that we had. So it really worked out.
Yeah.
And then, this year it's going to be a lot different.
Yeah.
But
I have to agree. I think if we had some super complex, raw and edgy programs, I don't think we would have been successful in our events because we wouldn't have had that time to really get into that character and play these roles and put the extra energy and attention that you have to when you depart from something that's not so natural.
Right.
And the other thing, not to sound cliche, but it was so helpful in Four Continents and Worlds to have 2 programs that the storyline was about having one another for a lifetime and relying on one another, because if it wasn't for Chris, being with me every step of the way during my sickness, we wouldn't have made it to those events. So it was always really special when the lyrics would come on or the music would start, because instead of thinking about the actual competition, I was actually more in tune with who Chris and I were in that moment, which is nothing I've rarely experienced before when I go to a competition. It's usually just work. So that was quite special. So I'm thankful that we chose those pieces of music before knowing I would be sick.
And it's very sweet.
Yeah.
So looking forward to this season and the time you're taking now, would you describe your health as 100% now? Are you still, rebuilding a little bit? Where are you at?
I think that there's still rebuilding to do. We lost a lot of training last year, and all the other teams had that full year of training and improvement. So we have still a lot to do, and our programs this year are a lot more difficult, so we have to spend a lot more time on them. But as long as we're healthy through the season, we'll have no problems. And I think we're on a way better start than last year with our health. So that's going to really help us throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, we were presented the idea to keep one or two of the programs from last year because we only competed with them twice.
Yeah.
But we like a challenge, and we thought that we could only push ourselves with new material and start fresh. So we have a lot to work to do in our new programs. And then as far as my body, I feel like I'm getting really strong. Sometimes I feel like I'm so energetic that it kind of freaks me out because I spend so much time feeling so tired and crappy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm always excited, like when I skate and stuff, because I feel so good. But I know eventually that'll kind of wear down when when training really gets hard.
Right. So can you give us a bit of a sense of what led you to the music that you've chosen for your short and long programs and the choreography?
So the short was actually a difficult decision. We were going back and forth with different music. We were thinking about keeping last year, the short we did last year. We were thinking about going to maybe an old program. We were thinking about...
we did another piece of music that was totally outside of our box, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So we changed it a lot, and thankfully Roheen just kind of went with the ride.
Okay.
And we have settled on Painted Black, and it's a mix from Sierra's version and the London Symphony. And it's really cool. It has this kind of dark and creepy vibe and raw edginess that is a bit of a departure from the Metallica, or it's like a branch off of the Metallica. It's just not exactly the same. Metallica was one of our favorite programs.
Yeah.
So this new program, Painted Black, it kind of has a bit of that feel to it, which we love. And then it's completely different than last year's program because it's not super sweet. If anything, I think it's like raw, and there is a little bit of sexiness in it. So that's cool.
Yeah. Fans like sexiness.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah.
And it'll be fun.
Yeah.
When some of it, of course, has trickled out into social media, and we've gotten a bit of a sense of it. And when I heard the symphonic piece come in, I just got goosebumps. I thought, well, this is going to be an excellent and really excellent program. And if skated clean, it will be. I mean, it gives goosebumps. I think it can absolutely pull big numbers.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
We still got, we still have to finish it.
Yeah, right.
That was the video that you saw was like the first day of working on it.
Right.
We got through like 2 elements or something.
Okay.
And now we changed our order of the elements.
Yeah, so we're really playing with Roheen a little bit, but it's been a good sport.
It's a little bit late in the summer to still have the program being choreographed, but it's you want to go to sleep at night knowing you made the right decision.
Sure.
So we have no regrets changing it and kind of pushing it back a little. If anything, we know if we gotta crunch time and make things happen, we can do it because we've done it before.
Right.
It's just not as nice.
Right. And can you describe working with Roheen and what that experience is like? Because this is the first time, I believe.
This is the first time.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of great ideas. He's very good. We work with him here and there. It's hard to schedule with him sometimes because he's so busy, because he has so many people now that are working with him. But luckily, since we've changed the music a few times, he's now pretty much done with everyone else's program. So we have more time now to work with him. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It's also an advantage that we live in the same state as him, so we can still access him.
That was another big decision that we made with him and Christopher. They both live here, so we can see them throughout the whole year, so that we don't have to go and make changes with Delilah, but we can go and make changes with the choreographer.
Sure. Sort of tweak and adjust as you need to.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a really big help for us.
Yeah, and then our free program was choreographed by Christopher Dean, and it's to different pieces of Charlie Chaplin music. And I love it so much.
There's going to be a lot of character in that one.
I think, Christopher Dean's description of the program is that it has like a romantic humor behind it.
Okay.
There's a lot of comical movements, which are it's so nice and refreshing just to kind of like have fun out there, like literally, instead of just say like, oh, we're having fun. But like, it's actually a really fun program.
Right.
And it's quirky and it's cute, and we're still making some revisions to it because we just altered a piece of music in it. But like we said with Roheen, Christopher Dean's here, so it's easy to kind of fine tune. But I really love the program. We had 3/4 of that music like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We were going to use it.
Okay.
And then we kind of chose something else, and then next year we brought it up, chose something else, and then it came up again. and we were finally feel like, okay, this is the time to use it. We feel like we can really relate to it now.
Right.
So I'm ecstatic about that program. I think it's different from the other programs we've done, and it's really challenging because Christopher Dean's like
He comes up with these
an
crazy
alien.
ideas, things to do.
And it's so fun to work with him because he'll do my part and then he'll do Chris's part with me and then he'll do vice versa. So like he'll try to pretend like the girl with Chris, and then Chris will like pick him up.
Yeah,
and it's so fun.
Okay.
it's really funny.
Cool. So in the post-Olympic season, you wowed everybody with, you already have an enormous triple twist, and then you upgraded to the quad twist. Is the quad twist something that you'll re-enter into your repertoire for the Olympic season, or where is it at?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that last year was not a good idea with everything that happened with Alexa, that there was no need to do it and put pressure on ourselves to do it, and we needed her to heal more. So we decided not to do it. And then this year we are planning on bringing it back. When? I don't know, but
There's no like we can tell you like we're not going to try it for a while, like at least 4 months more. Because of the lack of training that we did last year, we're still getting our bodies back into prime shape. And to do something like that, I feel like you have to be, 100% sharp and crisp and in shape to get it done without getting hurt. So I want to make sure that we're seasoned and, comfortable to try it. And then as we start to progress throughout the season from the summer through the Grand Prix, I want to make sure that my body's responding to a full year of training appropriately before we, start pumping at my stomach that just went through so much trauma.
Yeah, I mean, her health for us is a lot more important than doing a quad twist. Even if it's going to hurt us by a point or two with our total score, her health is more important than that. So,
yeah, and our triple does pretty well on its own. But I definitely
it's a high twist at a time when twists are bonkers now. I mean, Savchenko and Massot have taken it to sort of a whole new orbit almost, and you guys have a really impressive one. Is it something that came naturally? Did you have to work on it?
Oh, you know what's funny? Okay, our first year, when we first actually tried out, we were doing twists, and I told Delilah, and Alexa wasn't there, that I didn't think we were going to get a triple twist.
He didn't want to team up with me.
Because it was.
He didn't want to be my partner.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't think we were going to get a triple twist, and she came from a lot different technique with her last coaching team.
Okay.
So that's where the issue was the techniques, not so much her ability. So I told Delilah that I didn't think it was a good idea because we weren't going to be able to do a triple twist. And then she said that I needed to trust her, and I did, and it worked out great. But it was funny thinking back on it.
Yeah, I never knew till like 2 years ago that he was thinking about not teaming up with me because of the twist. But I mean, I'm pretty sure like after my surgery, like we even like talked about it with the surgeon and like asked her like, okay, so this is what we do. Do you think I'll be able to do it again? Like as I'm like in the hospital bed, like this is the goal. She's like, why don't you try walking first?
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
When you look at the other teams and the size of their elements, and it has seemed now in the past couple of Olympic cycles that it's just bigger is better and high and grand with dramatic landings. Is there a propensity or sort of a desire to maybe keep it a bit tighter and smaller if you're in some discomfort? And does that make it harder when you look at these teams and think we can't really afford not to go big?
Well, no, the issue is that Chris can't throw me small because
I get yelled at.
I've asked, because if you do a triple throw and it's small and you have an error, it's easy to still land it because there's not all this extra air time for you to go bonkers and get back and kind of wonky in the air. So in one sense, it's easier to be more consistent if the throw is small. And then you still get your points for it and everything, and it's great. You can sleep at night because you landed it. Right. But then if you want to compete with the best teams, they're doing huge throws. But the difficulty with that is that it's a little bit easier to be inconsistent because there's more air time to mess it up.
Sure.
But I like being thrown big, and I like the way it feels. So, only a couple times do I yell at him and ask him, like, can you throw me smaller? But that's usually on a day where I'm not landing it, so I blame him, because it's obviously his fault.
Right.
So,
Obviously.
but yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of pressure if you want to compete with the big dogs to have big throws and big twists, because that's where you're going to get the GOE on it, and that's where the points are going to add up.
We saw in social media that Nina Moser was in town relatively recently. What was that like, working with someone who has so much intel on pair skating, and how forthcoming was she with all the Russian pair secrets?
It was awesome. We went up to Westminster, and all of our whole pair group went to the camp, and we learned a lot from her, off ice, on ice, so many exercises, stroking things. It was a really great experience to learn from someone that has so much behind her and so much knowledge. It was really great.
I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical going in, wondering how much is she gonna tell us? We will compete against her best teams. Why would she want to help?
Totally.
I think that's a normal question or thought. But she was amazing. She gave us so much tips and feedback that was so helpful that I just took with me and ran with it, and I was so impressed, and I want her to come back every year. She didn't hold back at all, and she had multiple meetings with coaches and what she does as a coach and how she trains her kids, and gave all of that information to the U.S. coaches to use. So I don't know, I was just stunned by the camp. I thought it was incredible. It definitely exceeded my expectations. So I'm grateful that we were able to go.
Cool.
I would have been really upset if it was last season and I couldn't have gone.
Right. So last couple questions as we're heading into the Olympic season. You're slated for you have 2 Grand Prix placements, so back in the Grand Prix, and they're a little later. You're sort of debuting later in Scimeca, which you've competed in a couple of times, which is usually the opener, is now the closer. Does that sort of change your thinking or strategy or thoughts? And was there any intention to sort of enter into the series later?
We wanted to do Scimeca. That was our top choice. And I think that it's actually a good thing that it's later, because it keeps us in the States at the end of November, because Nationals is a lot sooner this year. So it's nice that we're not going to have to travel internationally.
Okay.
If we don't make the final.
Right. But still, with the final, it keeps us one less trip international right before another trip international right before nationals. So we needed to strategize this season and make sure we weren't leaving the country so much. So our senior B is going to be in the States. We're not planning on going international until NHK to kind of keep us in the States because of everything that happened last year and the year that could be this year with all the traveling. We don't want to get burnt out. So we were kind of strategic with how we selected our Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I think Chris and I have really learned and experienced over our career that you can request and kind of strategize on what you feel in the moment is going to be best later down the road as far as the scheduling of events. But there's no perfect formula. It doesn't mean if you want to have all of them in the States that we're going to be great at all of them because we chose that. What we've learned is what you're dealt with is what you get, and you make the best of it. So, if we weren't given Scimeca, I don't think for a second we would be thinking oh, we're going to be so tired by nationals because we went to China. We're just grateful that we're able to have those opportunities because last season, it was all we wanted.
So, last question, and you brought up nationals, and this year's nationals will qualify only one pair team in the U.S. to compete at the Olympic Games, given the results of the World Championships. So that then means that whatever team, a little bit of pressure, and that then means that whichever team qualifies would presumably be skating both the team event and then immediately after the pairs event, which is usually the first one, and I believe is scheduled the same for Korea. So that's tough. That's a short period of time, 1 week of competing 4 times is is that tough? Do you have to catch your breath?
Here's the thing. It's
without
if you're going to the Olympics and it's your first Olympics and you have the chance to compete 4 times,
go for it.
Who cares if you're tired? You got to compete 4 times at the Olympics.
I mean, Marissa and Simon did it. The other one, they did the same thing.
It would be difficult for sure. I had just spoken about about Finland, you want to be rested and feel good just for those 2 days of competition. Now you're looking at 4 at the most important competition of your life. Yeah, it's going to be stressful, but who cares?
Right.
The ladies, they have 2 weeks in between the team event and then their event, but maybe it's going to be too long in between for them. They're going to lose maybe the adrenaline. Who knows?
Momentum,
There's good and bad to every situation. We would just make the best of it if we're fortunate to be on the team.
Sure. Well, fingers crossed that you're the team that
Yeah,
qualifies
all
for
of
the
your
games.
fingers, even your toes.
It's been so great to chat with you and get a sense of last season and what you've been up to in the summer and your hopes for this season. Wishing you lots and lots of luck, and thanks again for taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.